In 1859, soldiers of the U.S. Army Corps of Topographical Engineers were constructing a wagon road through southeastern Utah near Moab. While cutting a path through red sandstone cliffs, they stumbled upon massive bones, unlike anything they had ever seen. At first, the fossils were mistaken for petrified wood, or perhaps bones of a giant mammal. Eventually, naturalist John Strong Newberry examined them and recognized they were from a prehistoric reptile. These fragments would later be named Dystrophaeus via Malay, meaning bad road joint, because the discovery took place during a difficult road project. This moment marked the very first recorded dinosaur fossil ever found in Utah. A landmark in North American paleontology, though fragmentary, the bones represented a sauropod, one of the long-necked, plant-eating giants of the Jurassic period. At a time when the science of dinosaurs was still in its infancy, this find provided evidence that immense creatures had once walked in the deserts of the American West. The discovery preceded Utah's rise as one of the world's richest fossil states, foreshadowing later quarries that would produce Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, and countless others. The original fossils of Dystrophaeus included limb bones and vertebrae. They were transported east and studied by the famed paleontologist Edward Drinker Cope, one of the central figures of the Bone Wars. Cope described the bones in 1877, naming the genus Dystrophaeus. However, the fragments were difficult to interpret. For decades, paleontologists debated whether the bones belonged to a sauropod, a different reptile, or even a chimeric mix of species. The incomplete nature of the fossils led to confusion, and Dystrophaeus remained poorly understood for over a century. Yet the name survived, standing as a reminder of Utah's first steps into paleontology. The find also highlighted the challenges of early fossil collection. Soldiers and explorers often lacked proper tools or knowledge to excavate fragile remains. Many bones were damaged or lost during transport. Still, enough material survived to suggest the presence of a very large four-legged dinosaur. In the mid-20th century, paleontologists re-examined the fossils and confirmed that Dystrophaeus was indeed a sauropod, probably related to early forms like Camarasaurus. Though it will never be a complete skeleton, the discovery occupies a crucial place in the history of American science. The geology of the find is as important as the bones themselves. The Dystrophaeus fossils came from the Morrison Formation, a late Jurassic rock unit that stretches across much of the American West. The Morrison is famous for producing spectacular dinosaurs, such as Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, Allosaurus, and Stegosaurus. In 1859, however, no one yet knew the richness of these rocks. The Utah discovery was the first hint that the Morrison concealed a treasure trove of ancient giants. The environment of the Morrison was a floodplain dotted with rivers, swamps, and fern prairies. Sauropods like Dystrophaeus would have thrived here, feeding on conifers and cycads, moving in herds across open landscapes. Their immense size, long necks, and pillar-like legs made them the dominant herbivores of the Jurassic world. Finding a fragment of such a creature in Utah marked the dawn of a scientific journey that would eventually turn the region into a global center for paleontology. Every later discovery, from Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry to the Dry Mesa site, traces its lineage back to that first chance encounter with bones on a wagon road. Utah's paleontological identity began with Dystrophaeus. The historical context of the 1859 discovery adds depth. America was on the brink of civil war, and Western territories were being surveyed and mapped for settlement and infrastructure. Scientific exploration was often tied to military expeditions, as soldiers doubled as collectors and scouts. John Newberry, the naturalist who recognized the fossils, was part of the Macomb expedition surveying routes to connect Santa Fe to Utah. Without his trained eye, The bones might have been discarded. Instead, they were preserved and later transported east. The naming by Cope in 1877 came during the height of the bonewars, when Cope and Marsh competed fiercely to describe new species. Dystrophaeus became part of that rivalry. Though it never achieved the fame of other dinosaurs, still, it symbolized the expansion of science into the western frontier. For Utah, a territory still decades away from statehood, the discovery gave it an early role in the unfolding story of paleontology. This historical layering soldiers, explorers, rivalry, and science makes the fossil not just a bone, but a cultural artifact of 19th century America. For decades, Dystrophaeus remained obscure, known only to specialists. But recent re-examinations have revived interest. Modern paleontologists have revisited the type locality near Moab and found additional fragments that match the original material using advanced imaging techniques. Researchers have compared Dystrophaeus to other sauropods and concluded it represents one of the earliest members of the Macronaria group, related to Camarasaurus. This places it in a pivotal evolutionary position. It bridges the gap between earlier, smaller sauropods and the gigantic species that dominated later Jurassic ecosystems. Thus, even fragmentary remains contribute to understanding sauropod evolution. The fossil's age, about 150 million years, situates it at a time of tremendous diversification among dinosaurs. Each bone, though incomplete, acts as a puzzle piece in reconstructing the larger picture. Paleontology often depends on such fragments. Not every discovery produces a museum-worthy skeleton, but each one matters scientifically. Dystrophaeus is proof that even the smallest collection of bones can shape scientific narratives for more than a century. Utah today is synonymous with dinosaur discoveries. The Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry, Dinosaur National Monument, and numerous other sites have yielded thousands of specimens. Yet all of that began with Dystrophaeus. For residents of Utah, the fossil represents the origin of their state's paleontological heritage. Schools teach about it as the first dinosaur of Utah, and museums include it in their exhibits. Though not as famous as Allosaurus, the state fossil, Dystrophaeus carries historical weight. It stands at the root of a tradition that turned Utah into one of the world's greatest fossil regions. This continuity matters for public identity, just as Colorado treasures its Stegosaurus and Montana its Tyrannosaurus. Utah's pride in dinosaurs begins with a soldier's find on a dusty road. The fossil ties the state's natural history to its cultural history. It reminds citizens that their land holds stories stretching back millions of years. Stories first glimpsed in 1859. The bones themselves are small, but the meaning is vast. Utah's first dinosaur continues to shape how people view the land they inhabit. The landscape where Dystrophaeus was found has also transformed. In 1859, southeastern Utah was a rugged, little-known wilderness. Today, Moab is a hub for outdoor recreation, visited by millions each year for its red rock canyons and national parks. Visitors hike, bike, and raft through landscapes shaped by the same rocks that preserve the fossil. Interpretive signs in local museums now connect this tourism with paleontology. Dystrophaeus thus contributes to regional identity, linking science, history, and landscape. The bones remind us that discovery often begins with attention to place. Soldiers clearing a wagon road were also, unknowingly, opening a road into deep time. Culturally, Dystrophaeus represents the spirit of discovery in America's 19th century. Soldiers, explorers, and scientists worked at the edge of knowledge, often without knowing what they had found. It connects personal memory of childhood dinosaur fascination with national history. It demonstrates that paleontology is not only about bones, but also about people, their journeys, rivalries, and ambitions. The fossil's name, Dystrophaeus visaimalai, literally means bad road joint, a nod to the difficult project that revealed it. The name captures both the hardship of the expedition and the serendipity of discovery. The fossil embodies resilience and chance, qualities that define both science and history. In this way, Dystrophaeus is more than a dinosaur. It is a story of exploration, struggle, and persistence,